Now to the extraordinary charges against former President Trump's organization and its top executive. Now, prosecutors accuse the company and its chief financial officer of a 15-year tax scheme. Now, at the heart of it all, investigators say the company's CFO, Alan Weisselberg, evaded taxes on nearly $2 million of income. That income, they say, was in the form of rent and utilities and other payments that went completely untaxed. Now, the former president's son, Eric Trump, who also serves as the executive vice president of the Trump Organization, tried to downplay the charges. This was his framing.
Well, these are employment perks. These are, a corporate car, which everybody has. I guarantee you there's people on this network that have corporate cars. I guarantee you there's people in every company in the country that have corporate vehicles. This is what they're going after. This isn't a criminal matter.
Joining me now, staff writer for The Atlantic, David Frum, former federal prosecutor Elliot Williams. Elliot, so they're acknowledging it.
Yes.
And I think President Trump did something similar in the statement that he put out here. They're saying it's not a criminal matter. These are just perks. You're a lawyer. What's your take on that?
Well, first, my take is don't confess to a federal crime on national television. I would advise you not to do that, anybody, if you're listening. So yes, these are perks. Company cars are perks. Your gym is a perk. Your parking pass is a perk. You just got to pay taxes on it when it's income. Now, there's a little bit of complexity as to the corporate car question, because mileage over when you're just driving for your personal benefit versus mileage when you're driving for work is taxed a little bit differently. But at the end of the day, you have to pay taxes on them. And Alan Weisselberg, you're talking about $1.76 million in untaxed income. That is a serious amount. It is unlawful. It brings liability to both the company and the individual, and it's serious stuff. And he's downplaying it.
Yeah, no question about it. And David, I was interested, you were tweeting throughout at some point this week, several DOJ press releases of people that had similar types of instances that were going to jail for very real time. But the president, or former president, doesn't really seem that worried, at least not publicly. You wrote a piece a couple days ago, had a bit of a different sense of things. Why?
Well, you were reporting this morning about a small group of individuals who didn't believe that federal laws applied to them. Now we're talking again about a different group of individuals who don't believe that federal laws apply to them, and they're about to discover that they do. And thank you. I tweeted, you just go on the DOJ site, and you find lots of people who, for amounts as little, I found someone who had as little as $80 and who got sentenced to prison time. So it's a serious matter. There are a couple of things to say about this. One of the things that I take away, though, is first, obviously there's going to be more. It's not true that people who don't pay taxes on their private school tuition are paying taxes on everything else. And some other people in the Trump Organization went to the same private school as Alan Weisselberg's grandchildren. So there is this question about is this a warning from New York prosecutors, to the Trump Organization? Look, these methods are criminal, and you'd better start giving up what the members of the family have done. There's another thing that is also sort of striking is, Donald Trump is supposedly worth, according he says, $2.4 billion. So if you go to the Forbes 400 list and look at the other people who are worth supposedly around the same amount of money, and you look up then their CFOs, and who all have very distinguished records, they're not going to risk prison to save $900,000 in taxes over 15 years. And you realize that the Trump Organization operates much more like a chain of crooked dry cleaning stores than it operates like a supposedly multi-billion-dollar business. And I think one of the things we're going to discover is just what a big city, but small-time cheesy operation the Trump Organization was, with these low-grade frauds that are so easy to catch once law enforcement begins to look.
And so first, you're looking at pictures right now live, at large crowd gathering before President Trump's rally in Sarasota, Florida, later this afternoon. Clearly, no shocker here, former president supporters continue to support the former president. Right, I don't know why that was ever a question based on the last 5 years. But to David's point, it was an interesting thing when you actually, when the indictment came out and you started reading through things, everybody said, well, this seems kind of small. This doesn't seem like a really big deal. But if that's how the company operates and the former president is atop the company, what is the legal risk here for former President Trump?
People might be surprised by this, but there may not be legal risk for President Trump because there may have been documents, for instance, documents put in front of him about faulty tax payments that he has no reason to believe are actually faulty tax payments, right? It's, let's put it this way, almost in political terms, if the president ran his company similar to how he governed as president, he doesn't know what's happening at multiple levels down below him. And it's entirely conceivable that you could not get him on criminal charges based on his knowledge at the time. It can be very hard to charge people. And I think even though, look, we saw this with Bill Cosby just a week ago, even though the public may know that something untoward or even unlawful happened, ascribing liability to the person at the top of the chain can just be difficult. Now, we know from the indictment that there are other individuals and executives who were involved in the scheme and also receiving payments. It just may not have been Donald Trump.
Yeah, and obviously there's more to come, which was something somebody who is pretty familiar with the Trump organization laid out. Former President Trump's attorney, Michael Cohen, weighed in on this and, as you know, served prison time for actions he took while working for former President Trump. I want to play for you his take on this.
What you have right now is Alan Weisselberg's head on the chopping block. And do you think that Donald Trump will protect him? Well, if Alan looks back at what happened to me, the answer is an emphatic no.
What do you think about that?
Well, clearly the purpose of this indictment, done the way it is to put pressure on Weisselberg to give up Donald Trump for just the reasons that you said, that probably there is going to be very little paper. Donald Trump famously destroyed paper. He famously operated in an elusive way. So the question was this a fraud on Donald Trump, or did Donald Trump know Weisselberg is going to be the witness to that one way or the other, as are other people in the organization? So prosecutors are putting pressure on him to say, tell us that whether you had permission to do this. And he will decide at age, I believe he's 78, does he want to spend the rest of his life in prison to protect family wealth, family interests, or does he want to avoid spending the rest of his life in prison? And that may determine his behavior going forward.
It's going to be fascinating to watch. So far, he's chosen the former, but as you know, there's a lot more to come here, I would surmise, over the course of the next months and years. David Frum, Elliot Williams, thank you guys very much for taking the time. I appreciate it.